So I'm in the midst of purchasing a Bugatti. This kind of happened on accident. I was driving my Ferrari 812 Superfast from London back through Germany, and I saw the Bugatti sign and I wanted to go in there to look at them, and they wouldn't let me in because there's too many shit munchers who come and pretend they want to buy Bugattis. Shit munchers come and go, oh, I want to buy a Bugatti, and really they're just wasting everyone's time and they don't really actually want to buy anything. So that annoyed me. They thought I was a shit muncher. So I was like, I'm not a shit muncher, Google me, I'm fucking rich. I convinced them I was a G and all the cars I have, blah, blah, blah. And then they finally put me down with someone who's important, which was the head of regional sales for Bugatti in Europe. Blah, blah, blah. Accidentally ended up buying a Bugatti. So it's a process and you have to go through a bunch of crap to actually get the car. But one of those things is test driving today. You have to go and drive the cars. You have to prove you're competent. I'm sure you can get away with it if you're like an Arab sheikh or a billionaire oligarch, but people like me, if we want to order one, we have to prove we can drive it. So I went, and in between the driving test days, there's these dinners at night, and you're sitting around with all the other Bugatti owners. And I realized something which is really, really important. I mean, I've been to a lot of high-level events, a lot of high-level dinners, sat with a lot of rich people, blah, blah, blah. But when you go to a Bugatti dinner, it's interesting because you know everybody there is extremely rich, but they're all from different backgrounds. There's some people who are just daddy's money, some people who have made their own money in real estate, some people who have made their own money doing X, Y, Z. Then you have the Bugatti guys themselves who are trying to sell cars and work for the brand. And they have a very unique life. Of course, if you work for Bugatti, you have a very unique life. And I realized that 90% of the conversations that were taking place at this dinner were simply stories. So the guy who sold the Bugattis was telling stories at the time he was selling a Bugatti in Bahrain, and the sheikh thought it would be funny to lock him in his tiger's cage, for example. The other guy who was buying a car along with me was an older guy, and he was telling the story of the time he went into East Germany during communism in the 70s. And then I'm telling my stories, like you've seen on Tate's speech, of getting robbed in Jamaica, or the sex party, or the Transnistria, all the crazy things I've been through. And it turns out that at the highest echelons of society, you will always be liked and you'll always be able to fit in if you have an interesting story and if you can tell it well. The thing is about most people is most people don't have interesting stories, and even if they do have a story which could be interesting, they can't tell it. They're not very good at storytelling in general. So they can't portray the emotions involved. They can't portray the fear or the humor or whatever else. But that was my observation. I kind of always knew this to be true, but I sat there and after 3 hours of dinner, I realized all we did was basically take turn telling cool stories. And this is what rich people, cool people, interesting people who live interesting lives do. They have stories to tell. And inside of the War Room, which is my private network, I was speaking to the War Room guys and I said, okay, tell me your best story. Not only to see what their story is, but also to see how they tell it. And it turns out that if you're ever looking to reach the higher echelons of life, if you're ever looking to be around very important people, if you ever want to feel respected amongst the most financially affluent individuals in the world, you need to not only be able to listen, of course, and have some kind of reasonable input to an insane story about being locked in a tiger's cage while trying to sell one of the Bahrainian princes a Bugatti. You also need to have a story which rivals that. So if you're sitting here watching this, my question is, what is your best story? And I'm actually interested in hearing your best story.